to watch those fish swim away from the boat is a very good feeling.
A spectacular new documentary series is taking really an unparalleled look into the deepest and darkest of our Great Lakes.
So for a deep dive of All Too Clear beneath the surface of the Great Lakes, we're joined by husband and wife filmmakers and directors Yvonne Drabert and Zach Melnick. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having us.
I watched the first episode and I was blown away by how much I learned. We often see these special National Geographic documentaries of the ocean floor, but not our Great Lakes. So this is spectacular that you've done this. And I think I now know who enemy number one is. I think I do. It's the quagga mussel.
You got it. That's right. Our Great Lakes really have seen an unprecedented invasion of quagga mussels. People have probably heard of zebra mussels, and those are the cousins of the quagga. But these guys like to live deeper, so we don't tend to see them near shore like we did the zebra mussels. So that's why we need something like this, our underwater robot here, that lets us see deep, deep down into the Great Lakes.
Yeah, let's talk about this camera because the photography, the cinematography is absolutely stunning in this. So Zach, could you explain what this camera is and what it does more specifically?
Sure. So scientists have had remotely operated vehicles for a long time, but this is really the first unit designed for filmmakers who want to create really spectacular images deep underwater without a giant research vessel. So, you know, if you're James Cameron, you can get a giant research vessel and, you know, many tens of thousands of dollars a day. You can go out there and you can use this kind of stuff. But here, Yvonne and I can go and explore the very deepest depths of the Great Lakes and get really spectacular imagery at a fraction of the cost as what would be possible before. So we spent 150 days using this under the Great Lakes to make All Too Clear, and it's a lot of fun, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about the specifics of that fun. Do you have to get, you know, decked up in a scuba suit to join this drone underwater, or is it all done remotely via computer and you're kind of, you know, above the surface of the water controlling it?
Yeah, so this guy goes all by himself down in the water. So we're on deck, Zach's controlling it at a console, kind of like a video game. It's kind of a really fancy video game. But we can't send a signal underwater the same way we can through the air, so it's always tethered. So somebody's always got to be managing that tether. But, you know, something like this, it can go up to 500 meters or 1,600 feet deep. So really, the whole of the Great Lakes is open to us to explore.
And how significant is that in particular, Zach? Because we haven't seen many parts of the Great Lakes that this camera has now exposed.
Absolutely, especially the deeper parts. So we can get a great image in over 100 meters of water without light. So we can see that expansive lake bottom completely covered in quadrillions of quagga mussels, and that would have been totally impossible before. Like, scientists were putting down cameras and they can just see like kind of a little square. Because this camera can basically see in the dark, we can just get that perspective that really no one's had. In fact, you know, when we actually found a shipwreck as part of making this movie. And when we were getting the images of it, we were down there in 82, 85 meters of water, and folks didn't even really believe it was real because we could see that whole ship. And that's because the camera is so good, and because the quagga mussels have made the water so much clearer than it was before, hence the name All Too Clear.
All Too Clear. And so for swimmers and people who love the lake, we might think, oh, clear water, this is perfect, but it's actually kind of a dangerous sign of what's happening with the ecosystem, because these quagga mussels eat the algae that feed the algae that feeds the little fish, the white fish, and then you've got the big fish that eat them. So it really is devastating to the wildlife in the water, right?
Yeah, so the quagga mussels, there's so many of them, quadrillions of them, that all the water, for instance, in Lake Huron, once a week is filtered through mussels. So that's actually changed how our lakes work and how the life in our lakes can live. So important species like the lake whitefish, our most important commercial species, now is having trouble making it through. And All Too Clear follows the whitefish as it's trying to make its way in the world and really digs into that quagga mussel story.
But you also deal into the history of how kind of human interference and the cleaning up of our water has affected that balance as well, right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because we did a really great job cleaning up the Great Lakes, you know, with a lot of legislation that was passed in the 60s and 70s. But these mussels, they've come in, they've taken out even more of the nutrients. So now our lakes are mostly at a point where they're nutrient starved, which is the building blocks of life. All that stuff that makes like life happen in our lakes just isn't there right now.
Right. Is there a way to like take an underwater plow and just scoop up these mussels and chuck them? I know they reproduce super super fast, and they go on soft surfaces as well.
Yeah.
Like, what can
looked,
be done?
Yeah, we looked far and wide to try to find if there was any kind of solution to this really gigantic problem. And really, there isn't a lot that can be done right now. There is some experimental work going on in the U.S., and so we spend a lot more time in the U.S. we ever thought we would.
Like
they
Michigan.
have a lot more money for this kind of research, and so there are potential solutions on the horizon. That that one researcher's experimenting with using this giant underwater plow device to sort of just kind of kill that huge swaths of them at the bottom of the lake. There's some genetic engineering solutions that are possibly in the future for this, but we have to be very careful.
Right.
I mean, anytime you sort of mess with nature, there's unintended consequences. So thankfully, there's a lot of organizations that look out for the health of the Great Lakes, and anything we do, we don't want to create unintended consequences.
The danger of the invasive species is coming all too clear from your documentary, The Three-Parter. You can catch it on TVO. Appreciate both of you being here. This is really fascinating. So thanks very much, and good luck with this.
Thanks
for
so much.
shedding a light on it.
Beautiful documentary.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Yvonne and Zach.